quality of life. Then we're going to discuss the importance of engaging in the community. Has anybody heard of multiple sclerosis? Okay. Has anybody seen the commercials on TV? Okay. Were those commercials dealing with treatment like Ocrevus?
No, it's just one of those, do you have multiple sclerosis?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for sharing. Now I'm going to give you all a visual on what multiple sclerosis is, and then we will go from there.
Multiple sclerosis is a disease that impacts the brain and spinal cord, which make up the central nervous system that controls everything we do, whether it's taking a physical step or solving a complex problem. The exact cause of MS is unknown, but we do know that something triggers the immune system to attack the brain and spinal cord. The resulting damage to myelin that insulates wire-like nerve fibers is a disruption of signals to and from the brain. This interruption of communication signals causes unpredictable symptoms such as numbness, tingling, mood changes, memory problems, pain, fatigue, blindness, or paralysis. Everyone's experience with MS is different, and these losses may be temporary or long-lasting. Most people initially have relapsing remitting MS, where they experience attacks of new symptoms followed by periods of time when those symptoms go away partially or completely. Others experience gradual and ongoing loss of function without distinct attacks, which is known as progressive MS. About multiple sclerosis, connect with others to drive research for a cure and to address the challenges of everyone affected by MS. Visit nationalmssociety.org or call 1-800-344-4867.
Okay, you all, so that's just a visual on what multiple sclerosis is. I'm going to briefly go over it again. Multiple sclerosis is a disease that impacts the central nervous system, so that's your brain, your spinal cord, your optic nerve, which is your eyes. For unknown reasons, the immune system attacks the central nervous system, resulting in the myelin sheath, and that's like the protective coating over a nerve. So just imagine how like your cell phone cord, if you had it for a while, it gets unraveled. You know how the wires are exposed? That's how the MS nerve looks once it's attacked. Now, that leaves the nerves exposed. So when that happens, it interrupts the communication to and from the brain. And people can have a variety of symptoms. So that can be weakness, numbness, pain, mobility problems, bladder dysfunction, and more symptoms. There's different types of multiple sclerosis. The first one is not really considered the first stage of multiple sclerosis, but it's the first episode of neurological symptoms that's caused by the inflammation and demyelinization in the central nervous system. It can last for like 24 hours, and not everybody that has CIS goes on to develop MS. The next one, 85% of people are diagnosed with this particular type first. It's called relapsing remitting multiple sclerosis. And this is when a person will have like attacks, like relapses, exacerbations, and then they'll have moments of recovery and they'll be fine. So they may have symptoms for a little bit and those symptoms will disappear. Now, if it progresses a little bit, the second stage is secondary progressive MS. And so with this, it follows the initial relapsing remitting period. And let me say this, a relapse can last for weeks to several months. Now with this course, a person's symptoms can gradually worsen over time. So it takes them more time to recover. Then the next one is primary progressive MS. And this is when somebody's symptoms progresses and it causes a disability, right? So you may see somebody walking with a cane or a walker or possibly in a mobility scooter. Then you have progression, relapsing remitting, and unfortunately the people do not get better. They don't get better, they remain, they can be paralyzed, they can have plasticity, their arm can be stuck on the side, and unfortunately that's what happens. Only 5% of people experience that. Now I want to talk about who am I. I am Sierra Charlanda Harrison. I'm a 2013 graduate of this program right here. I'm so excited about it. From North Carolina A&T State University, the VSW program, the best program ever, you all. Then I graduated in 2015 from the JMSW program. Are y'all familiar with that? Okay. It's a joint master of social work program between A&T and UNCG. So we're duly enrolled on both campuses. Then I want to talk about a life event inspired me to start doing chronic illness advocacy. And I am a MS ambassador for the National Multiple Sclerosis Society, and I'm a member of the Triad Community Council for the Greater Carolinas of the National Multiple Sclerosis Society. Now, I would like to introduce you to me. I live with relapsing remitting multiple sclerosis. I was diagnosed in April 2016 at the age of 25. Now, I had just completed the JMSW program a year prior. This came as a shock. I did have some symptoms going on as far as weakness and numbness in my hands, but I just thought it was stress. I'm like, these classes are very stressful. Okay. I said these classes are very stressful, and I just need to relax. When I started working at my job as a licensed clinical social worker associate, it got worse. When I was driving, I felt like I was getting ready to pass out under the wheel. I had really bad vertigo, which is dizziness. And during that time, I experienced headaches, fatigue, mobility problems. I started falling. I started losing my ability to walk. Then unfortunately, after I was diagnosed in April 2016, it got worse for me. I lost my ability to walk, to eat. I could not complete daily tasks. I needed assistance with taking a bath, going to the bathroom, being transferred on the toilet, being transferred off the toilet. It was a really tough time for me, you all. And
Let me know we don't want to change.
ma'am,
Let me know we don't want to change it.
oh, I'm getting ready to go to a video.
Okay.
And what I would like to just show you all is how MS affects me. Looking at me, would you think anything was wrong? And why would you think that? Just show of hands.
You see me being like walking normal, speech is normal, off gait, just like physical. I wouldn't see anything that looked different.
What about you? Thank you so much.
I would say that you're walking around perfectly fine, talking to us, lively, energetic, so I wouldn't think nothing wrong.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that. Now I want to show you all how MS affects me. This is different instances where I'm out in the community and how MS affects me.
What's going on here?
Well, I got myself a little upset. This what happened when I myself upset. So my body, my legs and stuff don't want to, cooperate like they need to. My gait is off. And so I'm walking like a little robot here. So I won't fall.
This is my mother assisting me as my symptoms are worsening. This day I got really stressed out, so this is how stress and fatigue looks on me. And you'll see what happens next. It'll push me down. I was stiff, spasticity.
That was my mother helped me. Camera come over here. As y'all can see, I'm getting focusing on my hand. My hand is starting to retract here. I'm having plasticity and I'm having weakness. I've moved up a little bit, but pretty much stiff. Come over here. I don't want y'all to see this. However she does it, that's how my hand goes. That's how I'm gonna say.
Y'all hear it?
Yes. Advocacy and show you all what it looks like. I look good, I'm telling you, I have my bad days. Not earlier, you got a little upset about something, and then it's just like, it changes just like that. So I really have to be careful with my mood and stuff like that. It's a struggle sometimes. My parents tell me about it all the time. Like right now, I can feel my left leg is being moved. So just like, you gotta be careful. I'm not dying. I'm not dying. It's a part of the disease process. And, I'm still believing in my healing and stuff like that. And, just because incidents like this happen doesn't mean that, I don't believe in God or God didn't say I was healed. It just means that I need to take heed to what God was telling me and reduce my stress. Not let, things get to me, or people or anybody, just go on with my life. But this may last because my treatment's been working really well. This may last for maybe 20, 30 minutes, or may last an hour, just depends. I got very upset. So I don't know how long this is gonna last. I'm hoping it won't last a long time, but love y'all. I want y'all to be out there self, and this is just bringing awareness to physical disability, to multiple sclerosis. So, I had an issue last night. What was the date? What was the date? Well, anyways, the 24th, July the 24th, and basically, to make a long story short, what was going on with me was I had a spasm to cover the right side of my head. And I'm just like, okay, I'm used to having those, whatever, let me lay down. And to make a long story short, I got, my shoulder had contracted all the way to here. My hand was like that. Now, my hand was like this yesterday. And to make a long story short, I'm in Target. Today is the 25th with my family, picking up something for my cousin. What time is it? It's 8:33. I was saying about 5 minutes ago, I told my family, I'm like, I need to go to the car because I have the same pain on the right side of my head.
So I just want to bring the importance of invisible disability to you all. This is what it looks like. I'm walking around normal. It doesn't look like anything is wrong, but I want us to have a conversation and discussion. The reason why I'm wearing this orange ribbon is because it's Multiple Sclerosis Awareness Month. It happens every March. And this week in particular is Multiple Sclerosis Awareness Week. So I thank Dr. Moye for allowing me to speak to you all about this important topic. Not only that, Black women, there was a trend, the last several years they found that more Black women are being diagnosed with MS at an alarming rate, and they have the more aggressive stage of MS.
Stay back there.
Okay, they have more of an aggressive stage of MS. Now, I've been fortunate. I actually went to my neurologist yesterday for a follow-up, and he told me I'm doing so well. I am now in the mild category, and I get to do my MRIs every year and a half now. So this is my mother helping me. As you can see, my legs were stiff. I had some joint pain. And this is assist. So when you see someone helping somebody like this, I needed the assist care. Just a little bit more walking, you all. Let's be walking, you all. I'm trying my best to get my feet together. I'm shuffling a little bit. Of course, I was humiliated because I'm doing Christmas shopping, right? I want to think about me having any kind of symptoms, but it happens. Y'all, what are y'all thinking so far? Let me know your thoughts as I'm
thinking about your triggers,
Mm-hmm.
like, is it the same for everybody or is it different for everybody? Because
That's a good
your
question.
triggers were stress
Mm-hmm.
and temperature from what we see.
Absolutely. So my triggers is stress, is temperature change. It is different for everybody. And I will say this, when I was diagnosed with relapsing remitting multiple sclerosis, that's the thing. When I was diagnosed with relapsing remitting multiple sclerosis, I had 3 lesions on my brain. The one that was the largest one affected my movement. So a lot of times what happens is, it depends on where somebody's lesion is at. So for me, it affects, my mobility. And in that part of the thalamus part of my brain, that's where, your motor activity is mainly affected in. So it really depends on where that person's lesion is at. And like you said, everybody does have a trigger. An invisible disability, and this is defined by the Invisible Disability Association. It's a physical, mental, neurological condition that may not be visible to everybody. The Americans with Disability Act, it was signed by Congress in 1990. It was amended in 2008. And with the ADA Act, is basically, it's the protections for people living with a disability, right? Making sure they have the proper access to buildings and access to resources that everybody else has. Now, 2008 just expanded those protections for everybody. And it says, I just wanted to read it to you all. It says, it defines somebody with a disability as someone who has a physical or mental impairment that limits one or more major life activity. They have a history of impairments, or they're considered to have an impairment. Now, a person is, in regards to having those impairments, so they may have difficulty hearing, talking, carrying, lifting stuff, having challenges, and also working a job, taking care of their children at the house, doing their children's home, helping their children with their homework. Now, there are thousands of disabilities, there is thousands of illnesses and disorders out here, right? Can anybody tell me what an invisible disability can be considered? Well, tell me what type of, when you think of invisible disability, what comes to mind as far as somebody that you see in the community or one of your clients that you work with? And this is some,
Maybe it's a learning disability.
yes, and like give me an example.
So I think about like IEP and 504 plans,
Mhm.
people who need assistance in the classroom, like note
Absolutely.
takers, and they're unable to maybe catch on as fast as their classmates.
Exactly, and ADHD, ADD, that's good, thank you. Yes, sir.
I was thinking like autism or dyslexia.
Absolutely, absolutely. Anybody else?
Like COPD.
Yes, that's great. That is a great example as far as respiratory disorders, infection. Yeah, COPD. Absolutely, that's really good. And then if you have like somebody, they may have heart problems or they may have other things going on. You can't necessarily tell by looking at them if something's going on. And that's important for you all to know in the work of social work is when you see your clients, you always have to check in. Of course, we're not in the medical field, but just checking in, making sure that they are good, they're having a good quality of care, making sure that they have the things that they need. All right, now, some of the challenges with living with the invisible disability is some of the common stereotypes that I've seen when you think of young people, right? Nobody wants to think of young people being sick. It's like, well, young people are always supposed to be healthy. So that can be a misconception that people have. Also, those who are diagnosed with a chronic illness later in life, they may have some guilt there. They may not be able to be engaged so much with their children, with their grandkids. So it's a lot that comes with that. And when you think of an invisible disability, it can impact someone professionally and socially. Now, when it came to me, it impacted my career employment. I was working as a licensed clinical social worker. But what I found was that I would get fatigued. I was doing therapy in home, in office, at schools, and it was too much for me in multiple counties. And I eventually had like a little, I wouldn't say a relapse, I would say a flare-up. Now, is anybody familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Okay, tell me what you all are familiar about that. Tell me what you know about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Anybody?
I would say it just goes over like the basic psychological and emotional foundation to living a positive life or fulfilling life.
Absolutely.
I'm a psychology major, so I kind of touched this on my psychology of success class, and we touched on this as far as like success can be different for everybody. So we use this chart as far as this can mean a whole like different system of success for me or like someone else. So we kind of went through that chart.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's all about working on your inner self first and then going out to like your basic things and
Yes, this is very important. Social work majors, psychology majors, you always want to start where your client is, right? And everybody, just like you said, everybody is different, and everybody's needs are going to be different. So of course you start off with the physiological needs. That's the breathing, the food, the water, the shelter. If somebody has a chronic illness, that may be their medication, their treatment, their healthcare team to help them have a good quality of life. So maybe they can work a job. Maybe they can properly take care of their family like they need to, or have the resources that they need to. As you go up this ladder or go up this chart, of course, is love and belonging, self-esteem, and self-actualization. You always have to make sure your clients have their basic needs met, because if not, they're not going to thrive and they're not going to get to the next level, unfortunately. So we will go to the next slide. Now, I think I've talked a little bit about this, but kind of the common misconceptions of people who have an invisible disability. Can anybody just talk about one up here on the list that they maybe seen or heard?
I could say about like how people see chronic illnesses and things like that, because I was a chronic illness, so that be able to tell.
Oh, yes.
So it's just like the way I feel and like my medical situations don't reflect on how I'm going about my day-to-day life.
Yes.
Because I can look at you and laugh and do all that, but feel like I'm about to die.
Absolutely. Yes, I completely agree with you all. So did you all hear that? Did you all hear that? So it's just like, just because somebody is walking around normally, maybe having a good time, hey girl, hey dude, doesn't mean that they always feel good. They have to learn to manage their care, learn to cope. They found a way to cope with their care, to manage their care. And you may have somebody to say, oh, it's just, you just enjoy your life because you're at the house all day long. It must be a dream job or dream life, and it's not. Because certain people, they have chronic illnesses, they're tired, they're fatigued, they may be in a lot of pain, and they may have to just lay on the couch. They may have to be in the bed for a little bit, but it doesn't mean that they are having a great time. A lot of times people may feel isolated, afraid, alone. They may feel depressed, especially if it's affected their employment, if it's affected the way how they socialize with people. It can really, it's really something. I'm ready. Yes, ma'am.
I do know that when some people have multiple chronic illnesses,
Yes.
that they may, have that dream lifestyle,
Oh,
or
yes.
they may function, they may be able to do everyday ordinary things,
Mhm.
but then when they have a relapse,
Yes.
and if they have multiple relapse back to back to back, someone may say to them, why are you always sick, Sierra? Gosh, you're sick again, you're in the hospital again. So it can go the exact opposite.
Absolutely.
You have that dream lifestyle.
I completely agree. You're so right. Snowflake disease, kind of what you was kind of hitting around a little earlier. Everybody is different, and MS is a snowflake disease because it's different from everybody. So you can see people walking around with mobility aids like scooters, wheelchairs, and so forth. But me, I'm walking around fine. I can move my legs today. You know, I can do my little two-step, and I'm excited about it. I love to dance too. But it's just like, you can't judge a book by its cover. And I just wanted to show you all, thank you. Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to show you all these snowflakes, these snowflakes. They're different. Each snowflake is different, and that's what a snowflake disease is. I'm ready. Get ready to wrap it up here. Of course, the Nassau Code of Ethics, right to self-determination, social welfare. And that's just talking about advocacy in the community, giving your clients the ability to make decisions on their own. So different ways on how you can support your client or advocate for them. Take time to learn about their illness. Find some things that they may want to look into. Of course, find some resources in the community. And you need to support your clients. Always start where they're at and say, hey, you know, I'm checking in today. How are you feeling? What would you like to work on today? And just validate their feelings and just normalize their behavior and say, I understand you're going through a tough time right here. Let's just process this. Let's figure out what steps we need to take already. Then, as far as advocating for, helping your client advocate for their, how social work can advocate for their clients' well-being and quality of life, and how you can advocate for yourself. First, find the area of interest. I had no intention on doing multiple sclerosis education. I was living my best life. I was in great shape. But this particular instance brought me to my purpose, and that's multiple sclerosis advocacy. Share your story or share their story. Of course, you know, be careful with confidentiality, and build partnerships in the community, participate in social media campaigns, write to your elected officials. I actually did that a few weeks ago, and share key resources in the community. Now, this is the end of my presentation. I do have a book trailer, but I just wanted to say that I'm a dancer. I'm a dog lover, social worker, multiple sclerosis thriver, content creator. I'm a writer, and I am actively engaged in the community. And that's the resources.
There's many stories to tell. This is your journey on. Right after this one.
It's just a 2-minute trailer for my book.
Is the door open?
The door is not open.
Took me on a journey of deep reflection. And journaling was my way of opening up my heart, my understanding, and trying to process how my life will be within this.
It's a little struggle for me to drive for a couple of months now, and that's why I needed to start the treatment. But now I'm on the treatment now for a couple of weeks. I'm feeling better now. I'm getting stronger, so really good.
That's my treatment. I take pill form.
Mobility challenges and MRIs never get hold in my world. My memoir will take you on my journey of quiet personal battles, leading up to a bitter fight with my body and mind to find myself and purpose again after illness.
That's my
I
dad.
hope you are inspired to face your challenges, walk through pain, and emerge more resilient than ever.
And I have one last part where I want to just show them that I'm in the community with those pictures. So that's my book trailer, you all.
This one.
This one. And what I want to show you all is the importance of engaging in the community. Because I engage in the community, I have been able to be on news segments. I've been a part of a breast cancer news story on WFNY. I've had my own stories in the community. You can scroll down. I've been involved with the Triad Health Project, Fit for the Cure, Walk in Mess, Ronald McDonald House. I've done all this community service, and it brought so much joy to me. So what I would like to tell you all is that social workers or whatever you want to do with your psychology majors, make sure you engage the community. Who am I? I am Sierra Harrison. I'm a thriver. I'm living. You got to learn something too. When you are working with your clients, always remember they have a set of behaviors, right, that they have already had for years. We're not here to fix their behaviors. We're here to give them the resources to help them go through whatever they're going through and provide some support there. But it's up for their clients, for your clients to have their own self-determination and to do what they need to do to help themselves. The only thing you can do is document and give them the resources. I hope you all got something good from this presentation, and please remember to serve people and give back to the community. Thank you.
Miss Sierra, on behalf of our class and Dr. Moye, we present you this gift card. Thank you for sharing your story.
Y'all are so sweet. Y'all so sweet. Thank y'all so much. I really appreciate it.
So questions?
Anybody have questions?
Yes.
I just had a comment. I remember watching this show called Kim's Convenience.
Yes.
And the mom in the show was diagnosed with MS. And her, because you called it a snowflake disease. And that made sense to me because hers was more of the memory and not the physical side. So it just clicked together whenever you said it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
I just wanted to know what your diagnosis process was like. Because that can be very expensive and also very taxing, especially for a Black woman trying to receive medical care. So.
Absolutely. So I was the very fortunate ones. My mother is a registered nurse. My sister's a nurse practitioner. So they kind of already knew that something was going on. So I started going to the doctor's appointments a little bit early. But I will say this, y'all, I wasn't believed. I started going when I was 21 years old to the doctor more and more. And she happened to be an African-American doctor who's very, very well known. And she that's why you have to educate. So I had a delay in care, to answer your question. And by the time I got to back in her office, I was already walking like this. So it was rough for me. So because I had people in the healthcare field, I was able to, once I got my diagnosis, I was able to start treatment earlier. I am in a patient assistance program. My medication is $85,000 a year. And I just found out yesterday that they're going to make a generic form of it. So hopefully, I'm going to have to get on another treatment. So hopefully it's working. I'll take a Baggio. And so I'm in a patient assisted program. My neurologist is awesome, and he's used to working with a lot of African American women. And so that's been good. Of course, there are communities there are communities of Black women with MS. I've participated in a few of those groups, but I kind of done my own thing. So I was very fortunate, and my mother, she takes care of me. She's able to pay for my insurance. She's able to make sure I have my basic essential needs. So the supports of my family, my healthcare insurance, and my neurologist, that's kind of been keeping me going in the patient assistance program.
Were you ever misdiagnosed before they actually said you had MS?
You know, my primary care provider at the time, she didn't really diagnose me. She just missed it. She was like, "Oh, that's just." I've been practicing for 25 years, Ms. Harrison. I have never heard of anybody say the symptoms that you're having, because I was telling her about my arm and stuff. It doesn't make sense, Ms. Harrison. So I was dismissed. And she never, and by the time I came back into her office.
It was in your head.
She said it was in my head, you all. By the time we came back in her office, homegirl was in here walking like that. And then she knew something was wrong. And then after she found out I was diagnosed, she's like, "Oh yeah, I figured something neurological was going on." And I'm like, so I got a delay in care for, several years.
Yes.
But yeah, girl, so I had delay in care.
I just wanted to reiterate, thank you for sharing your story. I knew when I saw the orange cross, what that meant. My mom was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis.
Oh, really?
And it's very prevalent. My aunts, my grandma, my sister is starting to show signs now as well. So I just think it's really important for our family members who have been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis to also hear about this, because it was hard, like you said, it's very invisible if you're not showing signs and things like that. So I just wanted to say.
Thank you so much for sharing. It is invisible, and I just thank you for being a representative of the families, because people with MS, the family has MS, and it's a lot. It can be a lot for them at times, but we really do need that support of our family to help us sometimes with our daily tasks, to help run errands for us, and sometimes just to provide us with that emotional support, because it is difficult. So thank you so much for sharing.
So she has books here.
Yes.
How much?
$10.
$10 a piece. If anyone wants to buy one, and she's gonna sign it, I'm gonna buy another one. I've already bought two.
Oh, okay,
online,
thank you.
Because I want you to sign this one, because I put the other two online.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, we're just talking.
So that's what MS looks like, you all. That's what an invisible disability looks like. Yep. And with MS, it's almost as if the body has a mind of its own. So looking at me, you all, what would you all think? Just right off. Would you think anything is wrong?
No.
Mm-hmm.
No.
And why is that? Got a little top today too, y'all. Yeah, you're right, and that's what an invisible disability looks like. So you say, what is an invisible disability? So it's a physical, mental, or neurological condition that is not noticeable right off by someone's appearance, but it can affect somebody's physical, mentally, neurological, conditions. And it can affect their movement, senses, and activities, as you all just seen with me. I think I said earlier too, when I was explaining MS, I think I said it's the myelin sheath. It is the protective coating over the nerve. But when I was talking about the cell phone, I meant a cell phone charger. You know how the cell phone charger gets unraveled? That's what I meant to say. I think I said cell phone. But anyways, y'all, let's talk about the Americans with Disability Act. So it was signed into Congress in 1990, and it was amended in 2008 just to expand the protections for people living with a disability. And as of right now, the ADA identifies someone who has a disability as a physical or mental impairment that limits one or more major activities. Maybe someone has a history of impairments, or they're considered as having impairment. And so you say, well, what specifically does that look like? So they identify it as someone having difficulty seeing, hearing, talking, walking, lifting, and carrying things. And also they have issues with performing daily tasks as far as working, doing things around the house, helping their children, and so forth. Now, the Invisible Disability Association, and I really like this definition because this is true for me. They identify an invisible disability as debilitating pain, fatigue, cognitive dysfunction, brain injuries, vision, hearing impairments, mental disorders, and learning difficulties. Now, as you can see, based off of me, it's not always obvious that somebody has a disability or they have something going on with them. But there are thousands of diseases and disorders out here. All right. Now, aside from what you all seen from me, let's talk about some of the challenges that people with invisible disabilities face. Now, when you think about somebody that's young, most times you don't think of them as being sick, right? You think of them as being healthy and, you're young, you're healthy, you're strong, you can fight off this infection, you can fight off this disease. But that's not always the case, and it can be challenging for younger people to live with an illness because they want to be healthy, they want to be just like everybody else, but it can be a challenge. And then when you think about a young adult, in my case, it impacted my employment, it impacted my social life, my dating life, and it affected how I looked at myself. Because I mean, I thought I had it going on when I had my master's, and I was in a professional career. I'm like, yes, this is it, and all that happened. Couldn't work the job because, had the cognitive brain fog, and then I was having difficulty walking, doing tasks, and it was a trip, y'all. I can't even lie. Now, going to the next slide. Is anybody familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs? So, just share with me what you all know about it. Anybody with a raise of hands? What do you know about the Maslow hierarchy of needs? Or you can just call it out.
So without the bottom level, most people can't get the other accomplishments.
I love that. You were so right. You were so right when you say that. Anybody else? And I'll get back to, what's your name?
Jasmine?
Yes. Jasmine, thank you so much. That's good. Anybody else? The chart, right? So when you think of physiological needs, of course, it's breathing, food, water, shelter, clothing, and sleep. But when you think of someone with a chronic illness or a disease, it's going to be medication, right? Their physiological needs, first of all, everybody is different, right? Everybody's needs are going to be different. And as you are assessing your client's needs, I know this is an interviewing class, you're going through your interviewing skills, you're going to find out what your client needs, right? You're going to find out what are the resources that they need. Now, with somebody who is dealing with a chronic illness, it's definitely going to be, medication is going to be at the bottom, some type of treatment, maybe a healthcare team. So they can get to this point where they can work a job or find employment, where they can interact with their family and take care of their family like they will want to. And also so they can retain resources. And so they can come up to this level of loving and belonging, self-esteem and self-actualization. Now, these are some common misconceptions when people think about invisible disability. And if you see that icon, you all, that represents invisible disability. Now, can anybody tell me something up here that kind of resonates with you, or something that you've seen before, a person might say? Don't be shy.
Resting will help people feel better.
Oh, what's that?
Resting will help people feel better.
Okay, absolutely. So why do you think that's a misconception?
You can get all the rest you want, but if you're not mentally, you can go to sleep and still wake up tired.
Yes.
So your mind is still going.
Exactly.
So mentally, you're not getting any rest. You're laying down, but you're not getting any sleep. So you wake up the same way, if not worse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. And somebody has, some mental health, has some mental health issues going on, or somebody maybe has a physical disability or something, an invisible disability going on. They have pain when they sleep. I know I have a lot of pain. And with MS, when you rest and you're in like when I was in my relaxing stage, it hurt to sleep. I had joint pain, I had weakness, wake up hands like claws, it's stuck in positions for hours. Yes, sir.
I was gonna say staying at home all day seems like a good lifestyle.
Yes.
I don't think that's necessarily the case. You stay home too much and you probably want to get out and do something. You start valuing going out and working or whatever.
So how do you think it impacts somebody if they're staying at home all day long? Maybe they're like on the couch or they're like on the bed.
It's probably lonely, depressed.
Yes. Absolutely. That's good, y'all. Yes, they do face it. It's not a dream lifestyle. A lot of times it affects somebody's employment, their social life, and like you said, they do have that isolation, that depression. They do feel alone. Absolutely. Anything else, you all, that resonates? I know for me, what resonates for me is it's all in a person's head. Now, I would say that my treatment originally, I had a delay in care because I had a physician, by looking at me, she just said, oh, you're in college, you know, you're stressed. I was dismissed. My symptoms were dismissed. Numbness, weakness in my hands was dismissed. And she said, you know, Miss Harrison, just like this. I've been and y'all, she was a black physician. All right, I just want to put that in there. You know, Miss Harrison, I have been doing medicine for over 25 years, and I have never in my life seen anybody with your symptoms. You know, sometimes things can be in your head, and you all, that really hurt me because I'm like, it's in my head, but I'm feeling these symptoms. And unfortunately, years later, came in the office. Oh, I think something is really going on with you, Sierra. Let me refer you to a neurologist. And that's when I was referred to a neurologist, you all, and it changed my life forever. So never judge a book by its cover. Now, one thing I want to talk about is snowflake disease. So multiple sclerosis, it is a snowflake disease. It presents differently in people. So as you can see, I'm walking around, no problem today. But it just depends on, like, if the weather changes from hot to cold, it affects me. From cold to hot, it affects me. If I'm stressed, it affects me. Now, what are some other snowflake disease that you all can think of? Something like an invisible disability that's not really noticeable, but that presents differently in people.
Anxiety, something like that?
Yes, yep, mental health conditions, disorders, that is real good.
Fatigue syndrome. Chronic fatigue syndrome.
Yes.
Autism.
Absolutely, yes. Autism spectrum. Anything else?
So like I guess scissors, like it was not visible until
Absolutely. And when I think about other things, I think about COPD, I think about emphysema, people who have respiratory illnesses, people who have like diabetes, people who have some heart conditions. That can be invisible disability, but a snowflake disease. Because some people, they just don't present the same. Their symptoms don't look the same. Now, we want to get into the NASW Code of Ethics. And are y'all familiar with this?
Yes.
Okay. I know y'all will. So the first one is 1.02, which is self-determination. So let me tell you all, when you all get in the field of social work, and this is what I had to learn, your client is going to have a set of behaviors that they already had before you came in. So as long as they're not, in risk of harming themselves or others or whatever, if you give them a resource, make sure you document it. If you give them something to do to, further help and assist them, that's the best that you can do. And you may not always agree with what your client does, but you have to give them the right to make their own decisions, right? Now, social work welfare. Now, this gets into the advocacy. Now, social workers, we promote the general welfare of the society, which we do, from local to global levels through the community's environment. And as social workers, it's very important for us to always think of our clients' basic needs, right? Making sure they're met. And make sure we promote social, economic, political and cultural values and institutions that are compatible with the realization of social justice. All right. Now, you say, well, Sierra, how can I advocate for my clients' well-being and quality of life? Well, first of all, show when your client is telling you things, right? You always want to practice active listening skills and say, okay, yes, okay, I understand. Ask them questions. You want to meet them where they are at. Please validate their feelings. A little sensitive at times. Some of the little clients, some of our clients are a little bit more sensitive, but even if they're not, you still want to make them feel like they are valued as a person, and what they're needing help with is valuable. And if they have a chronic illness, discuss their illness. Say, I know you was diagnosed with this illness, or I know you have this condition. Can you let me know how it affects you? Do you need some things to assist you with managing your care? How can I help you with that? Or just having a conversation with them, just letting them talk for a little bit. Also, making sure that you are finding resources in the community for them. That is very important. And that's why it's important to engage in the community. They're gonna ask you for resources. They're not coming to us because they're having a great day. Some people are coming to us because they're in a crisis. they need assistance with something, and it's emergency, they're not coming to us because they're in the best spot, right? Well, majority of our clients are not. So making sure that you are connecting with organizations and people in the community or fellow social workers and saying, hey, did you know about this resource here? My client is dealing with this, blah, 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 blah. Of course, you don't identify the client's name. And they can send you some resources. And give them time to normalize and also be alone, you all. I know for me, I was a little bitter rat. And I just thank God for everybody, all my healthcare team working with me, because I was not generally, in the beginning, I wasn't necessarily complying with my medication. I didn't do what the doctor asked me to do as far as exercise and diet and other things like that. So give your client an opportunity just to be themselves and make those decisions, right? Now, how can social workers advocate for their clients' well-being and quality of life? Now, and also how you can advocate for yourself. Now, you always want to find an area of interest. I had no interest in multiple sclerosis education. Nobody in my family was diagnosed with it. I thought I was good until it happened to me. And that's what drove my passion. And so that's how I found my interest. Also, share your story. Like I'm sharing my story. Like Dr. Brewer gave me an opportunity to share my story, and I really appreciate it. And also share your client's story. Again, don't say your client's name and too many things that will identify them. But just in general, share it to the community so that person can get the assistance that they need. Start a social media campaign. Launch a campaign. Host a community event. I know I'm actually participating in a My MS Movement campaign that the National MS Society is having. And I just talked about how MS affected me. It's a cute little flyer that we can make ourselves. And weeks ago, I engaged with the elected officials. I sent a letter to Representative Tom Tillis, Ted Budd, and Senator Ted Budd, Senator Tom Tillis, and Representative Kathy Manning on behalf of the MS Society on some things that they were looking to do for people with disabilities and receiving funds for multiple sclerosis. So it's really easy, you all. When you all start off in advocacy, it's not going to be like, let me move that back. It's not going to be easy, but if you have a passion there that drives you to want to do those things, then go for it. Your purpose may not be advocacy, and that's okay. But as social workers, find out what you're passionate about, and whatever you're passionate about, that's going to drive change for yourself and for your clients. Now, what I would like to show you is just like a wrap up of this presentation, but I wrote a memoir, and it's called Multiple Sclerosis: The Bitter Battle with an Uninvited Party Guest. Came out last year. I was very proud of that. But I want to show you all my trailer so you all can kind of further get to know me a little bit. I hope you all can hear it. Now, why did this commercial have to show up?
You still get it.
Look, these companies gonna get their money.
This is what my journey all began, right under this tree. You know how some things in life just take you on a journey?
Wow. And getting back to the PowerPoint, I just want to show you all the power of engaging in the community. Now, I have to update it, but I've been featured in multiple magazines, of course, the HUMI. I've been on the news, GTCC. I was featured in a segment with Miss Allison for the breast cancer fundraiser, the Triad Health Project. We have done a lot of community service, and based off of that and through the community service that I've done, I actually had the president of the National MS Society reach out to me months ago and asked me to be a part of the Tri Community Council. But this is the power in community service, you all. You have to go with whatever your passion is. My passion is to serve, right? And this is me. I'm a dancer, I'm a dog lover, social worker, I'm a multiple sclerosis thriver, I'm an MS community volunteer, I'm an MS fundraising participant. I released my book, and I'm a part of multiple organizations in the community for MS. Now, you all, it's not the fact that I had to learn, you all, to live my life, right? And when you see your clients that maybe have a chronic illness or invisible disability, they may be having fun and living their life. They just found a way to cope with their situation and manage their symptoms and care. So you're seeing me now. I look good, I feel good because I found a way to cope. And I coped through engaging in the MS community, being just out here as an advocate and living my life, you all. I'm 32 years old, I'm blessed. I'll be 33 this year. And I'm just gonna live my life, you all. And I really hope that you all will find your purpose in whatever you all do. I know you all are gonna do well in whatever program you're in A&T. I wish the best for you all, and y'all take care. Thank you. Y'all so much. Do y'all have any questions?
I may have missed it. I apologize for coming in late.
No, that's fine.
When you was in college, did you find out that you had MS when you was in college or prior to you going to college?
After. I was suspicious though. When I got to A&T, because I got here, I came here later because I started off at a community college, GTEC. So I came here when I was 21. And I don't know whether it was the stress of the courses. I mean, I always felt something when I was at my community college. I'm like, ooh, I'm a little numb here, or my finger was moving by itself. But when I got to A&T, I hit them books hard. And one of my triggers was stress. And I'm like, God, I'm having a lot of pain in my arm here. I'm having a lot of numbness. Something's going on with my walking. So when I went to my primary, each time, Miss Harrison, you're fine. You know, she didn't see a family history of MS. And so I would say my care was delayed. And when I found out, it was too late. And I found out a year after I graduated from grad school that's what I had.
Sierra. Also too about the classes and stuff.
You said what now?
Classes and stuff. How you was experiencing it during the class of
Yeah,
fatigue and the
thank you,
stuff.
Mom. That's my mama. I love her. Y'all, my classes, I'm gonna tell y'all something. Y'all have the best professors ever. Like, I cannot speak to the amount of respect that I have for all the professors in the VSW program and MSW program. My professors, some of them came to me in my MSW program, they were like, Miss Harrison, something is going wrong with your writing. I've seen you write better papers. Is there something going on? I'm like, oh no, Dr. So-and-so, I'm just stressed, or I've been hitting the books hard. But in my mind, I knew something was wrong because it was kind of hard for me to put together sentences. I knew my paper was a little crappy, but I was hoping he and she would give me a little break. But they did by letting me do it over again. So I was having, thank God they did that, y'all. Them C's were, hey, they was in my future, them C's, and I would have been out of that program. So I had a lot of cognitive brain fog during that time as well. Yep.
So Sierra, do you think it was delayed because you didn't necessarily fit the profile, meaning that most of the time people think about multiple sclerosis, the average profile is a white woman in mid-40s being diagnosed. Do you think that's one of the reasons?
Absolutely. I definitely think that was the reason, Dr. Brewer. I didn't fit the profile of a middle-aged white woman being diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and there was not a lot of research with Black people with MS. I know it's starting to be now through the work of Dr. Mitzi and some other Black neurologists in the community. Actually, I found out recently that Black women they're starting to see a trend of Black women being diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, the more aggressive forms. So you may see them like in wheelchairs and with walking aids like canes and so forth. But you all know the history of research studies, the United States of Black people and African Americans, and I'm hoping that we will have more research studies of Black people living with MS. So hopefully we'll find out. There's not enough information about that, but they've seen a trend with that recently. I am in a research study currently for Black people living with MS, particularly in the southeastern part of the United States. I'm in an exercising program. And the goal for that is they're trying to find out whether an exercising program that's structured will assist Black people with their walking dysfunctions as well as their overall care. So I think I'm doing pretty good in the program, but we need more research. And like Dr. Brew was saying, we don't fit the profile. And honestly, it's not enough research out here for us. So hopefully there'll start being some more research. More research is being done in the community for Black people and African Americans.
So like her, I came in late too, so sorry about that.
Oh no, that's fine.
I got a question, you might have already talked about this. Is it biological, or is it anybody able to like be triggered at some point in their life for and have it and get it? Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. In my case, with what I was told, it was something in the environment that I was exposed to, because I have no family history of MS. However, I know several people. I just met this young lady months ago. Her uncle had it, he passed away from it, and her cousin had it. I know a mother and daughter who has it. I know 2 sisters that have it. I know a brother and sister that have it. And I think it has, there's some type of genetical component, but I'm not the proper person to say yes or no, because I don't have any education on that. But
With them, you actually having the symptoms and them actually not catching them until it was basically in its chronic stage.
Yes.
Do you think you had anything to do with you actually being stressed in school and it triggered it, or it was just something, because they said it was the environment, that's just because they probably just don't know exactly what it is. But when you started thinking about it and doing your research, did you actually think, you know what, maybe it was probably, I had 18 credit hours that I was doing, and I was trying to work this job and do this over here, or I'm trying to help people over here. You just think it was either that's the stuff was actually causing it to trigger,
Yes.
and from there it just went on.
Because I believe I had it for a while, but a lot of times when people with MS, their symptoms are triggered through stress is going to show.
Yeah.
And I wasn't getting that treatment at the time, and when I had that exacerbation, that's what it's called, y'all, exacerbation or relapse, it hit me like a ton of bricks. Now, as far as environment, I don't know whether she was saying I was exposed to something like in the air or something like that, but so did I answer your question?
You did.
Okay.
You did. Thank you.
How was your mental state like immediately after you found out that you had it?
Girl, it was bad. Girl, it was bad because I was mad. I was really bitter because I'm at this stage of my life, so I'm gonna be transparent with y'all because here's what it is. My mother knows. I'm not proud to say this, but I say it in my book. There'll be days where I would just stay in the bed for days and days and days, and I would not take care of myself. Ladies, y'all know what I'm talking about. I did not wash up. I did not eat, and it was difficult. And then one day, my mom was like, "Sierra, you need to get up and take care of yourself and wash up and take care of yourself." So I had a really hard time because my whole purpose was through my awards and achievements. And my validation as a person was through my education. And when I didn't have access to it, it tore me up. I was like, this is my everything. And I just had to learn over time to just embrace whatever life gave to me. Of course, for a period, I'm in the Christian faith, so I stopped serving God for a little bit because I was mad. And I just got to a point where my symptoms got worse and worse, and I'm like, okay, this is not going to get any better. And by me being further stressed and being a little evil rat that I was, I figured that I wasn't going to get better. So what helped me was just talking to my mother. In my video, in my trailer, there was an oak tree that I was journaling under. My parents, they have a large backyard, and my mother started taking me out to the oak tree and just praying with me and saying, look, Sierra, you need to get yourself together. And I got myself together, and it was through prayers and people encouraging me and getting myself involved in the community, in the MS community, that I got better. But it was hard. I would say that I felt isolated, afraid, alone, and I just didn't want to live my life like that. But it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me because it brought me to a greater purpose.
Charles Stanley too.
Oh yeah, I don't know if y'all familiar with Charles Stanley, but my mom, she was like, someone told me that if you start listening to this man's sermons, that he would help you out a lot. And I started listening to, I was a little apprehensive at first, but it helped me out a lot. But whatever church or denomination or whatever, you're a part of, just go whatever is going to help you mentally, emotionally, socially to make you a better person. And that's what I did. Yeah.
Can I ask this question? Is there any time that your caregiver get annoyed with you, maybe because you are not there, you are not cooperating with them, or you are not doing what they want you to do?
Yes.
Is there a way they like, because I want to relate with what you said, that you get angry because I work in an hospital, and anytime I walk into this room, people will say hello, the man will respond. And then it will start fighting, like shouting on me. Right. I'm like, guys, I'm not fighting with you.
Right.
To help you. And it always gets to me. So until I spoke to some of my co-workers, that man in that room, how does it relate to you? They say, oh, that's how I used to be, just enjoying. But it affects me emotionally because that's my weakness, and I don't like people pushing me away, rejecting me. Yes. So it always affects my esteem and my confidence. So until that one, anytime you go to that one, just ignore that. So I want to know, during your process, how does your caregiver cope with your anger, your annoyance?
Mom, how'd you cope with it? I'm gonna tell y'all something.
It was bad. I had to do a lot of praying because Sierra was just, whoop, she was just off the chain. It was very, very difficult. It was very, very difficult. But I had to do a lot of praying, and I had to remember that it wasn't her that was really acting out per se. It was the disease that was really affecting her. But it was hard. I had to do a lot of praying. And by me having the nurse background, I had to I had to do tough love in a way, since she was my child. I had to let her know, just like she said, I try to be empathetic to her, not sympathetic, empathetic to her, right? So I try to talk to her and encourage her, but it wasn't working. So I had to use tough love. And just like she said, told her one day, get out of that bed, get up. I said, we're not gonna have a pity party. I said, I'm not gonna have a pity party with you. I said, get up, get yourself cleaned up. I said, get yourself together. Oh, she cried and boo-hooed and everything else. She was mad with everybody. She was mad with God and everything else, but it takes a lot of patience. So I would say, just remember that it's not the person, it's themselves, it's the disease that's driving their behavior. So it's going to take a lot of patience, just as long as you're doing what you can do, that's all you can do. And what I always say, at the end of the day, when I go home and lay my head down, I know I've done the best I can do.
And my mother, she grew up as a sharecropper in eastern North Carolina in 1960s. And so my mama didn't play. So she stopped taking my calls at work. I said, Mom, I'm so mad. I'm mad at God about, she's like, girl, stop calling me. Click. She stopped taking my calls when I was complaining. She was like, I don't want to hear it, Sierra. She's like, take it over to God. I'm like, but I'm down with God right now. So she showed me tough love, but like my mother was saying,
it was rough.
It's not you as a person. It's just whatever that person is dealing with that is driving their behavior. So don't take that rejection as them saying, oh, you're not worthy to help me. It's just something that they're going through, and honestly,
they're gonna push you away.
Yeah.
But just keep trying. Give them a little space. Yeah. I said baby steps, little bit at a time.
Absolutely. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.